Ymt218. This is the lab session, and we will be discussing things related to inheritance and polymorphism. We have a question for this short session, just one question to finalize and code. Design the class hierarchy provided in the UML diagram below. Next, create a main method to test both classes. So we have some hierarchy, as you see. We have a class student and we have a subclass or derived class. So this is a superclass, okay, or the base class, and this is a derived class, and its name is university student, so univ student. And these are the attributes. We have the name, ID, GPA, and they are set to private for student. Then we have the public methods, and we have also the private here attribute of univ student, and also just the department. And we have initializer as well. We have set department and get department. As you know, since we have the rest of the methods here, setters and getters, we don't have to recreate them. We can use all of them because they are available for the derived class. One thing I added, the str or the string class, this the method. This method is a very special method similar to the initializer init, where we can display the details of a class or the instance of a class. In that case, we can create a string and return it. It will be displayed once we provide the instance of a class to the print function. So I created two of them, and these two, one in the base class and one in the derived class. So this one is, since this one is inherited, since this one is a subclass, I mean it's the extension of this class, that means we have to apply some sort of polymorphism here, and we need to override the str method up here in the superclass. So this is what we need to do. Let's go through the ideas or the question one by one, or the requirements of the question one by one. What we need to do initially, we need to create the class student. So student, and this is capital, so let me just write it capital. It's just a convention, nothing more. Then next to that we have an initializer, so it's a method initializer init. So, and in this method we have self by default, then we have name, we have what was the next? I forgot already. Okay, ID, GPA. Okay, ID and GPA. So we need to set up these three as private. So what I'm going to do is self, in order for me to access and assign the values, name equals name. So we have a private attribute called name, and private how? By these double underscores. I know it. How do I access to it? Using self, which is the reference of the instance that we create. So once I assign to it the name received here in the argument, the main argument of the initializer here, we will just have a value to it. Okay, we will do the same to all other private attributes. Okay, we have the ID equals ID, and we have the GPA equals GPA. We are done with the initializer, so I move to setters, then getters. So setters, set, we go through them one by one, we create them one by one. Set name, and what do I need to receive as arguments here? We have self by default, and we need to receive the name from the user or somewhere from the calling point. So we need to do this, self dot name, and we need to set its value, name. Right, we do the same to all other private attributes. Def set ID, and we need to set the ID, self ID, and then I set the ID in this case equals ID. I do the same for the third one, set GPA, and I receive self and GPA. And in this case, I do just the same as we did earlier for all of them. Okay, and GPA. Oh, this one is capital. Let me just type it properly. GPA, and this is small. We finished. We're done with the accessor, with the mutators. Now we need to provide the accessors. Def get, or the getters, name, self. Self. That's it. Because I'm not receiving any other argument, I just need to return the name. And remember, the name in this case is a private attribute provided by these double underscores. Okay. We do the same for all others. Def get ID, and we need to receive only self, and we need to return the private attribute ID. We do the same. Get GPA self by default, and then return okay, self GPA. One thing left we need to take care of, this string method or str method. So def is a special method, so we need to create its own customization. In this case, what do I need to receive? Just self, nothing else. And here, what do I need to do? I need to return a string, just a string, for the instance to be printed. We will return what? I'll concatenate the name, okay, the name, the ID, and then the GPA. So name self dot name. I'll give a new line after each, so it would be name, then second line ID, third line GPA. It's just a customization. You can have your own customization because these are the basics. I don't want to go to them. So in that case, I'll give a new line. So in order for us to create a new line, we can use a /n, and that will jump to a new line. And then we can concatenate here. I can go to a new line so that I don't extend the printing. It would be not nice. Self dot. Now here is the thing. ID most likely would be integer. So in order for us to solve this problem, because I cannot concatenate a string with an integer, I will change its essence by str method to a string. And in that case, I can concatenate a string with a string. That's possible. Okay. So let's carry on. I add a new line also, as we did earlier. And I go to a new line. Let me add here also concatenate. Okay, leave a space that would be more readable. What else is left is the GPA. Also, it's numeric, so I'm going to use the string or str method in that case and convert its essence to string. Okay, so that's it. We have returned here a string that's concatenation of the name and the conversion of ID to a string nature and the conversion of GPA to string nature, and we separated them by new lines for each. So first name, one line, next to it the ID, next to it the GPA. So now we are done here, but we need to create the derived class. The derived class is called univ student, because we explained about this before, that we may have different types of students. since this is the base class and this is the superclass, we can inherit the characteristics and the methods. So I have to provide my superclass as an argument to this class, and then I can create the initializer for univ student def. Let me just go a bit so that you can see what I'm typing. Def init, init, and then what do we have here as arguments? Now remember that for the subclass, it receives all the arguments of the superclass plus the customization. Now look at the customization here in the question. The customization here is we have name, ID, GPA, and department, depart. Okay, not departure, department. So if you want, you can write all of it. It's up to you. Right, so let's do it. So we have self by default, then name, then ID, then GPA, then we have depart. Okay. And here, what do we have in the initializer? Now remember that those are already initialized, so I don't have to repeat initializing them. I can use my own private attribute. But before that, remember that we have this to be called. Why? Because this is the superclass's initializer. I have to call it. How do I call it? Anything belongs to the superclass, you call it by its own instance name or class name in this case. Okay. Dot. Okay. Init. So we are going to superclass, and here we pass all those. I'll just copy them. I don't want to type them, retype them again. Okay. And next to that, what do I have? I have department not initialized, so let's initialize it, create it, and initialize it. It's also self, and then depart. Call it the way you like, name it the way you like. Department maybe, it's better. Equals depart. Right. We are almost there. We need to create two more methods, def set depart. And I need to receive self and also the department. So I set the department self, department, that was right. Why did I delete it? Good. Equals depart. And then we need the getter. So we have the setter, we need the getter. Def get depart. Here we just provide self because we don't have any argument to be received in this case. Self, we need to return something. So sorry, return self department. Okay. Now one more thing. We have our version of the str method here, which is not adequate for student, right? Why? University student. For univ student, why? Because we have one extra field that we need to print. So we need to customize that one also. So I need to create def with the same name. We can override it, and this is the sort of polymorphism as we explained in the theory. Now what we need to do, we don't have to receive anything other than self here. And what we need to do, we need to display the name. Name, we can get it from where? We can get it from the superclass. How to get the name from superclass? Use the public methods that access to it. Okay, so we have self from our own class dot get. I need to return, so let me start by returning. I'm sorry. So return. Initially the name, so self dot get name. Okay. Plus, this is a string by default. I can give a new line next to it. That's what we did earlier. Okay. And next to that, let me go a new line, let me go a new line. Then self dot get ID, but I need to encapsulate it inside a string type so that I don't get any problem. I'll do the same, a new line, okay, and also I would jump to a new line, not to make it too much long. The same to GPA, self.get GPA, and here new line, and concatenate after jumping to a new line. Then the last one is already a string. Why? Department is a string, not likely to be a number or numeric. So we can concatenate directly. Self.get department, or it is actually, I'm sorry, I don't need to use the public method. This class's attribute. I got my mind messed up for a moment. It's just this department's attribute, so I can access to it directly. There is no problem in accessing to it. Why do I need to call any method? There is no problem. It's just this this class, the subclass's method. Okay. All right. We're done with all these classes. We can exit and use a main because it's requested by the question. So we create a main and test both of them. I'll just create a very simple testing why, just to save your time and mine. Since you already have the idea of testing, you can customize it or ask the user to enter certain things and see. Okay. In order for us to test it, we can create, let's say, student1, just one object, and I'll use the superclass student, and I need to pass all the arguments here. Name, just use any name, any valid name. I'm not sure which name I will put. I'll just use your course code, Ymt218. Okay, it's not a person's name, just put whatever name you like. Okay, and then the number, maybe 112233, and the GPA, well, the one you like, 3.9, for example. Okay, let's instantiate the subclass. So student t equals, now I'm going to instantiate univ, okay, student. And remember, we don't have 3 arguments, we have 4 arguments. So I'm going to use another, I'll use also course code, Ymt218. Economy is also a course from your own syllabus. I'll use 223344. And let's say the GPA is 4, for example. And the department is SENG, software engineering. Okay. Now we have already instantiated. How can we test? We can test by any of these methods, or we can get any of the elements and just display it, or we can use this the str method directly to display. What does it mean? Let me print. I say this is the superclass. Superclasses. Oh, I need. Okay, in that case, I can use triple quotes. Since I'm going to use apostrophe, I have to use triple quotes. Okay. This is superclasses object. Or let's jump to a new line. Yeah, we can do that. That's better. And then here I display what? My own instance, student1. I'll do the same. I'll just copy and paste this one. Why? To just replace the superclass by subclass. So super subclass is object or instance. If you like instance, you can call it, maybe it's more proper, instance. This one is instance also. And then we change this one to T. Okay, let's save and run. Okay. Of course, I haven't called the main. That's very interesting. How did I forget to do that? So I need to call the main. If I don't, I will not end up getting any outcomes. I have a problem. Student. Yeah, of course, student is not defined. This is a typo. Not studnet. Student. Okay. Let's try again. Again, sang is not defined. Let me check. Oh, for sure. Sometimes these silly mistakes I make because it's just my eyes do not catch. This is a string. It's not supposed to be given plain. It must be encapsulated by some codes. And now I just provided the single quotes. Now it will be fine to run. Yes, here is the thing. We have some space here. It doesn't matter actually. We can fix it, but look at this. This is the superclasses instance. We start by the name, the metric number or the number, and the GPA. Then we override that method of str by printing a new style or a new form. Now this one can be fixed. I mean, the space that we have in printing can be, because here we have space, we can make this one like the separation is equal to null. That's possible. We can do that here. So we don't leave separation between these arguments in the printing, and would be just fine in that case. So this is the idea. We created a superclass and subclass, and based on the information provided to those here, I just used a simple way for instantiation. You could just ask the user to enter all the information here. I was not interested in doing that because it will just take our time, and this is elementary, you already know it, so you can customize it the way you like. Also, we applied the concept of polymorphism and overriding some method from the superclass. So it is used in the superclass and it is overridden from the subclass. So when we call the subclass's method here in this case, it's overridden. It takes the copy of this subclass. Although if you call the superclass, it will take its own, not the subclass. And that is it actually for this question. I'll create other sessions later on. Until then, have a good time. Goodbye.